So Origins just dropped, and a bunch of nations in Africa now have some nice flavor. In this video, I'm going to show you how to open as Songhai and have a chill campaign for your first game in 1.32. Let's begin. So when playing Songhai, you're gonna face a lot of RNG. Your very first conquests will be defined by the alliance networks around you, but there are a few things you should do. Set your national focus to admin and recruit an admin advisor. Go to the estates and get +1 admin points, plus 10% loyalty, and plus 0.1% monthly piety from the ulama. From the emirs, get +1 mill points, supremacy over the crown, extra manpower, and plus 10% weight. 1.32 has introduced some new estate privileges, and one of them is getting 0.1 yearly manpower from capturing enemy forts. I did not choose it in my game, but if you want to experience some of the new flavor, go ahead and do so. And hey, maybe it's a better choice, but to err on the side of caution, I took plus 10% monthly loyalty. We'll give the merchants +1 diplo points when we have enough crownland, but for now, just give patronage of the arts and plus 10% loyalty. Send a diplomat to begin improving relations with Mali. Allying them isn't necessary, but I decided to do so temporarily. Make both your ruler and heir into generals, and recruit the free company. Both our ruler and heir start really old, so they're both gonna die soon anyway. But maybe they can contribute to our efforts just a little bit by giving us some siege pips. And now we're gonna have to decide who our first target is by analyzing the web of alliances around us. Oh, and by the way, you'll get a bunch of alliance requests. I just picked Katsina, because why not? Anyways, Timbuktu and Mali will ally most of the time. If not, and they don't have any strong allies, then they're gonna be your first target. If they aren't, then Air is the next best. But if they too have strong allies, then the Masi tags to our south will be our first target. Remember to click your mission before the month tick. In my game, I could attack Timbuktu, so that's what I did. In these early wars, you should avoid having your mercs and army separated from one another as they might get picked off. This war would have been a base race if they had enough troops for my capital, but they didn't. So I just full annexed them. From Timbuktu, we'll complete the mission giving some claims and a decision to colonize Tuat. We'll also unlock another mission, giving yet another decision to colonize the Fulani area. Both decisions require one province to have 5 mil dev. So just dev twice, click one mission, dev twice again, and click the other. With that, we now have 5 Siberian frontiers, which will become our provinces someday. Once you start generating 9 admin points and have 25 reform progress, you'll get feudalism for free in 2 of your provinces. That's why we focused on admin at the start. While we would be better off focusing mill to get tech faster than our enemies, we will be getting feudalism instead. Anyways, it's time for our second war. In my game, it was air, but keep in mind that this is all RNG dependent. Attack the weakest nation and slowly build your strength through minimizing autonomy. It was a bit tricky as they did have quite a few allies, so I just called in Katsina with the promise of land. I also got my free company wiped, so I just hired another merc company until the free company regenerated its manpower. But eventually, Air's capital fell thanks to a siege pip from the mercs and the spy network. I tried to appease Katsina by giving them a province from Air's allies, but they still didn't like it. But I still just full annexed Air for myself. This completes a mission letting us colonize the corridor between West Africa and Fezzan. And so this was my game in 1450. Timbuktu and Air have been fully integrated. I'm colonizing Fulan and the corridors between West Africa and the Maghreb. Just keep in mind that you'll still do good if you can't get Timbuktu or Air. It just means that Masi will be your first target instead. After annexing Air, I took a few years of peace to deal with rebels and regain some manpower. My ruler and heir died in that order, which was unfortunate. There's a good chance your heir will die before your ruler, saving you a stab. But if your ruler dies, followed by your heir, then you're gonna take the hit twice. Also, don't forget to lower autonomy in your conquests. These rebels will fire anyways, and lowering autonomy will make them contribute more to our manpower, force limit, and economy. So in 1454, I attacked Jenne. You won't get claims on them from missions, so just fabricate them on your own. There's a unique event for when their capital falls. You get the choice between vassalizing them or 10 prestige. I decided to vassalize them because I wouldn't have to deal with coring them, and I would save a lot of manpower from trying to drag their ally out of the war. Their army also proved really useful in my future conquests. So now I attacked the Masi tribes. I started with Yatenga, and though I didn't co-belligerent their southern ally, I still full annexed both of them. And once again, don't forget to state everything and lower autonomy. I then declared war on the last province of the Masi, the unpronounceable tribe of... And this was an easy war despite them having 2 reasonably sized allies. After full annexing them and completing the mission, you'll get to choose between two paths. This is something new in 1.32 where you can go down two mutually exclusive branches of your mission tree. So here, you can decide between going down the religious path or the tolerance path. The choice is yours, so I just picked religious. If you go down the religious path like me, the next mission is to convert all the Mossi provinces. This will be made easier once you can annex Jenne and get the monument there. I also broke my alliance with Mali at this point because they weren't useful anymore. Actually, they weren't useful at all. I don't know if I would even recommend allying them in the first place, but oh well. Their gold mines will be good for the economy once you conquer them. I stayed at peace the entire time between 1461 and 1469. I just kept putting down rebellions, slowly converting the Mossi, and began developing the Renaissance in the province south of my capital. Despite breaking the alliance with Mali, I still had mill access through them. You want to keep that, or just declare war and connect Fulani to the homeland, because you'll get a few rebels over there. If it weren't obvious, you want to trend towards legalism. The tech cost alone makes it worth it, but it's also gonna be interesting for something I'll explain a little later on. By the way, the loan situation isn't too bad. Of course, this is all the result of full coring and lowering autonomy. If you've taken the religious branch, don't forget to use the edict for +1 missionary strength. The Mossi conversions were slow, but there was meaningful progress. Once you complete the mission, the rebels there will lose separatism and all the provinces will automatically drop 100 autonomy. Around 1467, I finally saw Morocco, and could unlock the Contact with the Maghreb mission. I won't attack them in this video, but if they're weak enough, you probably could take them on. But by 1470, I declared war on Konk. They had a gold mine, and a province that defected to them from Mali, so I took that as well. This was followed by a few more years of peace, just the usual rebel killing and autonomy lowering. These two periods of peace put me a little behind on pace, so I recommend you don't go as passive as I did. But in this time, I also completed the Take the Empire title mission. To complete it, you must have Mali not exist, a larger army, more prestige and more stability, or just have 25,000 men. Since I just diplo-annexed Jenne, I jumped over 25,000 and completed this mission easily. I didn't realize this until later on, but you should start upgrading the monument in Timbuktu. I will explain why later on. But anyways, back to war. I declared war on Kenemborno, I don't know. And after a bit of struggle, full annexed them. Then I moved my troops back to the Western Front and declared my first war against Mali. It was extremely easy, since I also pulled off a pro-gamer move. Mali's capital was being sieged by rebels, so instead of having my men die in the siege, I just attacked the rebels and took over the siege at 14%. Mali had regrouped with their allies and were sieging all of my provinces back in the east. So I left some men to siege the capital, clapped the enemy armies a few times, and took a big chunk out of Mali. Also, don't forget that you can use the centralization edict to lower autonomy faster. As I said before, these rebels are going to fire anyways, so all you can really do is just make them fire sooner rather than later. In 1483, I got the event, The Rise to the Power of Muhammad. The two choices were either to get a new ruler or fight a bunch of pretender rebels. I had some luck since my ruler was a 445, but the event itself would give me a 636, which would be better. I don't know if the stats are the same or randomized, but regardless, if he's better than your ruler, you will of course want to take him. You will lose a stab, but it's worth it. Speaking of stab, the Great Peasants' War disaster was now available for me. This disaster will tick up if you're not at least one stab. So I stabbed up a second time later on. In 1484, I declared war on Yolof and pulled my second gamer move of my professional career. Instead of vassalizing them in the peace deal, I full annexed them and then released them as a vassal through the Diplo tab. If you want to open with exploration, then maybe this isn't the best choice for you, but I will talk about what ideas I took later on. Immediately after vassalizing Yolof, I declared war on the bright pink nation of Kabu that previously broke away from Mali, and I fed all of it to my new western vassal. Let's take a minute to discuss my situation with Katsina. You see, I had always intended to break the alliance and take the land for myself. However, I kept forgetting. Thus, it wasn't until 1487, when I declared war on Dahomey, that my alliance with them was broken. This wasn't all bad though. I probably took manpower from them at least 5 times, which actually wasn't a bad deal. I made a small mistake of returning course to Nupe. I don't know. I intended to vassalize them, but instead, all I did was extend my truce with Katsina. If I could go back, I would just take a white piece and would have been able to eat them sooner. Also, you should start drilling your armies when you aren't fighting wars or attacking rebels. One of our mission tree branches requires us to be at 30% army professionalism. It's also a backup reserve of manpower in case you ever need it, though I never did because the snowball allowed me to stop worrying about it at this point. Once you unlock Tech 5, you can finally start thinking about idea groups. There are many routes you can choose from, including opening with defensive or exploration or even economic. After much contemplation, I ended up choosing innovative for a few reasons. Firstly, innovative was always my favorite idea group to open with. Secondly, if you take quality later on, you can stack infantry combat ability bonuses as you get plus 10% from national ideas. Thirdly, and most importantly, innovative gives minus 10% tech cost. This is why I said you should upgrade the monument in Timbuktu, as it also gives another minus 10% from tier 3. Both of these combined with legalism will give you minus 30% tech cost, which is just an Islam moment. You will also have a few gold mines, and after developing them, you'll be swimming in money. With this, you can of course expand your army, but also get some good advisors. I had some good events for discounted advisors, and eventually had a skill 3 admin, skill 2 diplo, and skill 2 mill. Monarch points really are the most important resource, so this is never not worth it. In 1490, I declared war on the thick Nupe that I had created. I pulled a second pro-gamer move by full annexing them and releasing them as a vassal. Since I was opening with an admin idea group, I was very conscious of using admin points. But anyways, I declared war on Yao in 1492. This would reset my truce with Katsina, which was the best I could do to fix my mistake earlier. So of course, I white-pieced Katsina and Mali, who were allied with Yao. I did the pro-gamer move once again by vassalizing Yao through the Diplo tab. And so I owned all of West Africa except for Mali, Bonoman, Katsina, and Benin. Benin? I don't know. I was a bit surprised that I hadn't seen any European colonies yet, as it was already the 1490s, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. After Bonoman took some provinces from Mali, I declared war on them and full annexed. In 1499, I declared war on Katsina. There was no challenge at this point in military strength, as you will be ahead in terms of numbers and tech. Instead of full annexing Katsina for myself, I just fed it to Nupe to save on admin points. I also began to build artillery regiments, because why not? My force limit was around 50, and my max manpower was similar. I pulled my fourth and best gamer move in 1505 when I declared war on Mali. They had noble rebels sieging their capital, so I took over the siege and got it in just one siege tick, and annexed them just 2 months later. At this point, I would have all of West Africa under my control, but Nupe refused to make claims on Benin. Maybe because I didn't help them with rebels. But anyways, at the turn of the century, Songhai had united all of West Africa. I had a total of 3 subjects in Yolof, Nupe, and Yao, except for Benin. From here, you could no CB Congo and begin expanding there, or go down the mission tree as it gives free claims in Morocco. Or, if you open with exploration, you could start colonizing the New World and imitating Mali. The Europeans will be a bit challenging to deal with when they arrive, but you have an estate privilege from the Automat that gives plus 35 relations with countries of the same faith. This will make it very easy for allying the Ottomans, especially if you rival the Mamluks. The Europeans also won't be too challenging because of your awesome ideas. In total, you get plus 10 infantry combat ability, plus 10% army morale, and plus 5% discipline. The achievements you can get from Songhai include Nobody Wants to Die, which you should complete easily once you annex Timbuktu, and the newest one from 1.32, Ultimate Military, where you have to have both Prussia and Naples as marches. I hope this guide helps you out for your first campaign in Origins, and have a nice next 15 hours.